Happy Tuesday, everybody. And oh, yes, joy does indeed come in the morning. This is Africa Good Morning, where we bring you the news making headlines. Now, my name is Aina Raisa Koyo, and alongside me is Ashwin Mberi.
Now consider this. Heaven isn't paved with gold and giant pearly gates. It's got gingerbread pillars, sugar glass windows, and pools of vanilla custard day. Just reading that makes me want some vanilla custard. And this is a good day to try it because today is World Vanilla Custard Day. Have a look.
You know, just watching that video makes my mouth so watery. I love to see it, so aesthetically pleasing, everything
Indeed.
just yum. But nonetheless, here are the news making headlines. In our first story this morning, Zambia's opposition leader Hichilema wins landslide in presidential election. Opposition leader Haikande Hichilema secured a stunning victory over incumbent Edgar Lungu in Zambia's presidential elections. Results were shown on Monday. The Electoral Commission said Hichilema got over 2.8 votes against Lungu, who got 1.8, with all in 156 constituencies that were counted. I therefore declare the said Hichilema to be president of Zambia, Electoral Commission Chairman Esau Chulu said in a packed results center in the capital, Lusaka. That would make the third time that power has shifted peacefully from a ruling party to the opposition since the Southern Africa's country independence from Britain in 1964.
All right, in our second story, South Africa's jailed ex-president Zuma undergoes surgery. South Africa's jailed former president Jacob Zuma has undergone surgery and remains in hospital, prison officials say. The 79-year-old is due to have other procedures in the coming days. Singaba Kokumaro, the Correctional Services Department spokesperson, has said there has been no word on the nature of the operations or likely discharge date. Zuma began serving a 15-month sentence in July for contempt of court for failing to appear at an inquiry looking into allegations of corruption during his 2009 to 2018 presidency. His admission to hospital delayed the start of a separate corruption trial last week. It is linked with a $5 billion arms deal in the 1990s, and Zuma says the case against him is politically motivated. He has pleaded not guilty to all the 16 counts of racketeering, corruption, fraud, tax evasion, and money laundering.
Nigeria says a killing of Muslim travelers was pre-arranged. The killing of 23 people returning from a Muslim festival in Nigeria was a premeditated ambush for which suspects have already been arrested, authorities said on Sunday. Deadly violence is common around Africa's most populous nation, with roads becoming particularly dangerous and as armed attackers and kidnappers target travelers. In a statement, President Muhammadu Buhari condemned Saturday's ambush in a central plateau state of buses returning from a religious festival in a neighbor Bauchi state. Though details of the attack in state capital Jos were unclear, media suggested a Christian militia was to blame. It is clear this was a well-conceived and pre-arranged assault on a known target location, religious persuasions of travelers, not an opportunist ambush, Buhari said.
African Union Peace Force in Somalia probes reports of civilian deaths. The African Union's peacekeeping mission in Somalia was investigating reports that civilians were killed during a gunfight between the mission's troops and Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab fighters. Dozens of people protested outside a Mogadishu hospital where the remains of victims had been brought, vowing to fight the African Union mission in Somalia known as AMISOM. There was a heavy exchange of gunfire between AMISOM forces and Al-Shabaab militants before the patrol team seized firearms, rounds of ammunition, and mobile phones, it said in a statement. AMISOM has launched a thorough investigation into the reported incident, the statement said. 10 local residents told Reuters that 7 civilians were killed in the incident on a farm about 120 kilometers southwest of Mogadishu.
In our next story, Uganda's president warns police on brutality. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni condemned what he referred to as indiscipline by security forces who torture or beat ordinary Ugandans. Master Museveni added that security forces who torture suspects are lazy and unwilling to carry out proper investigation and gather substantial evidence. During his televised national address, video images of suspects arrested for shooting of Work Minister General Katumba Wamala, who were allegedly tortured in direction, were played. The president said brutality would damage our legitimacy, adding that nobody should beat any Ugandan. The use of torture is unnecessary and wrong. Uganda's opposition leader Robert Kyagulanyi has accused the president of not being sincere in his remarks on police brutality. Master Kyagulanyi has been a victim of police brutality on several occasions.
In our next story, DR Congo accepts U.S. military help against ADF militia. DR Congo President Felix Tshisekedi has authorized U.S. Special Forces to help the Congolese army battle the Allied Democratic Forces, an armed group linked to ISIL or ISIS. The ADF, which the United States has deemed a terrorist group, is considered the deadliest of dozens of armed militias that roam the mineral-rich Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. President Felix Tshisekedi authorized the deployment of African anti-terrorism experts in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo, said a statement from the presidency on Sunday. The U.S. forces will boost the Congolese army's fight against ADF in the national parks of Virunga and Garamba, it added. The mission will last several weeks and is specifically directed against the ADF.
Health Minister wants South Africa to stay at current lockdown level. South Africa's Health Minister Joe Phaahla said on Friday he would not recommend a relaxation of COVID-19 lockdown measures despite a downward trend in infections. He said the country of 60 million had fully vaccinated only around 4 million people as a wave of infections driven by more than infectious Delta variant strains overburden hospital and healthcare workers. In a bid to stimulate the economy, President Cyril Ramaphosa last month eased restrictions to an adjusted level 3 in a 5-level system as infections decline. It means people can travel between provinces for leisure, and retail outlets may sell alcohol from Monday to Thursday.
In our next story, top cop in soup after crashing stolen exhibit vehicle stolen in South Africa brought into Zimbabwe via Mozambique. Officer commanding the Zimbabwe Republic Police Vehicle Theft Squad, Chief Superintendent Crispin Mutsengi, has landed himself in trouble with the law after he was involved in an accident while driving a vehicle which was being used as an exhibit in a criminal case. The vehicle had been stolen from South Africa and was brought into Zimbabwe via Mozambique. It had also been placed on Interpol radar. Further investigations established that on the 24th of February last year, Mutsengi was involved in an accident using the exhibit's motor vehicle, resulting in it suffering extensive damages. The state alleges that Mutsengi acted contrary and inconsistent with duties for the purposes of showing favor to himself by using an exhibit motor vehicle for personal gain. It is alleged that Mutsengi used the vehicle from 14 January to 24 February 2020.
In our next story, 120 migrants intercepted off a Libyan coast. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees said on Sunday that 120 irregular migrants were intercepted at sea and returned to Libya. Earlier today, some 120 persons were rescued by the Libyan Coast Guards in two disembarkation operations. UNHCR tweeted. The individuals were returned to the Tripoli naval base where UNHCR and its medical partner IRC provide urgent humanitarian assistance, it said. Libya has been suffering insecurities and chaos since the fall of its leader Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, making the North African country a preferred point of departure for migrants who want to cross the Mediterranean Sea to the European shores.
Nigeria's Kano state moves to ban mannequin heads on Islamic grounds. The Islamic police force in Kano, a Muslim-majority state in Nigeria, has raised eyebrows after it ordered shops to only use headless mannequins to advertise clothing. Islam frowns on idolatry. Haruna Ibn Sina, the commander of the Sharia police known as Hizbah, told the BBC. With the head on, it looks like a human being, he added. Mr. Ibn Sina also wants the headless mannequins covered at all times because to show the shape of the breast, the shape of the bottom, is contrary to the teachings of Islamic law. Kano is one of 12 states in the Muslim-majority north that practices Islamic law. The legal system is supposed to apply only to Muslims, but in reality, non-Muslims come under pressure to adhere to the Hizbah's rulings, including the ban on full-bodied mannequins.
In our next story, July was the hottest month on record, U.S. agency says. Earth sizzled in July and became the hottest month in 142 years of record-keeping, United States weather officials have announced. As extreme heat waves struck parts of the United States and Europe, the global average was 16.73 degrees Celsius last month, beating out the previous record set in July 2016 and tied again in 2019 and 2020. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration said on Friday. The last 7 Julys from 2015 to 2021 have been the hottest 7 Julys on record, said NOAA climatologist Hira Shensek Lungo. Last month was 0.93 degrees Celsius warmer than the 20th century average for the month.
The last of our top stories comes from Namibia. Berlin supports green hydrogen research worth 40 million euro. The German government is providing 40 million euros in funding to Namibia for research and development of the nascent green hydrogen industry. The driest country on the African continent has enormous potential for solar energy production that could be used to develop the green hydrogen industry. According to the recently released second quarterly report of the Harambee Prosperity Plan, preliminary uses of the funding include green hydrogen grants, feasibility studies, and pilot plant development. Namibia joins the still very small circle of African countries that have started research into green hydrogen production. This is also the case for its neighbor South Africa, with initiatives led by the chemical giant Sasol, Egypt, and Morocco, all pioneering countries in the production of renewable energy. Part of the German funding will also support the establishment of the Green Hydrogen Council of Namibia. This council, recently created by the Namibian authorities, aims to accelerate the development of the local green hydrogen industry. All right, that brings us to the end of our top stories. You know, when you hear Dubai Expo, I hear the World Cup of innovation. And we're going to be talking about one of those innovations right after the break. If you've been paying attention to climate news, and you really should, you'd understand that it's important that we all do our part to build a more sustainable planet. Now, Future Yield co-founder Adrej Tetirao talks about hydroponics and their goal to take this agricultural system to the Dubai Expo. Have a look.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're talking about something very different for Windhoek Express. And I thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
Quickly tell us, you have a project going on and you really want to go to the Dubai Expo. Can you quickly explain to us what is your project all about?
So about 6 to 8 months ago, we started this new project called Future Yield. Future Yield specializes in agri-tech, in hydroponics, in franchising the hydroponics concept throughout Namibia. Basically empowering entrepreneurs and giving the right education when it comes to different ways of managing agriculture, to feed our communities and to create some sort of food stability in Namibia.
Then when is the Dubai Expo taking place?
The Dubai Expo is starting on the 1st of October and it goes on for 6 months. It takes place every 5 years. They expect over between 2 to 3 million people to pass through the Dubai Expo. It's the first time that it's taking place in Dubai, and it's as I said, it's every 5 years. So it's quite a big deal for Namibia to be there and to represent different industries at the World Expo.
Why is it important to showcase this project specifically at the Expo?
So look, we live in a time where we need to be smart with our technology. That applies to everything, including agriculture. This is something that we've seen everywhere, and this is something that a problem that we've identified. Due to the big drought that we've had 2 years ago, the big imports that are coming from South Africa, from the countries around, due to the fact that we need to, there's a big amount of job creation that needs to happen. There needs to be some local empowerment happening as well. So putting all these together, we came up with a very unique concept of using technology and automated systems with hydroponics, which I'll get into it just now, to grow fresh vegetables all year round, no matter the climate, using about 90% less water, 95% less land, and about 95% less carbon footprint, which is what we need to be careful with.
Quickly give us more information about your project. Why is this so important for Namibia, Expo or no Expo?
So the Dubai Expo for us is important because we can showcase it to the world. However, it is a lot more important for us for the correct ministries and the correct government institution to know about us. We're really trying to go into the full market, into the whole country, with a mission to really empower entrepreneurs and give them a chance to grow these fresh vegetables and greens very close to their communities. What does that mean? That means that we are trying to alleviate the high amount of imports, the hunger that's happening in the country, the prices that have been escalating in the country. We're trying to really look at different ways of bringing fresh greens to communities, feeding people, and empowering entrepreneurs, empowering the people to have a business.
But it's not that easy. It's not that easy to get into the expo. What is the process like? You don't just say, okay, I want to come.
No.
And you go.
Yeah. So we've applied to be one of the representatives for the Dubai Expo. We have been shortlisted out of about I believe about 180 companies. We are now down to the last 12, and now there's a Facebook competition where each of the 12 have to post a video. We posted ours as well. It's on the NIPDB page. Please like. And would be and the last 6 will then be fully subsidized to go and represent Namibia in the different industries that their startup operates in.
When is the deadline for when we can still like your
By
video?
Tuesday 12:53. By Tuesday 12:53 at noon, that's when the competition closes for Facebook likes. So the top 6 Facebook likes, then it will be a 50-50 decision between the board decision and the actual Facebook competition.
Can you quickly explain to us what is hydroponics?
So hydroponics is a subset of a soilless type of growing. So it's an aquaculture. Basically, the roots of the vegetables grow in water that is filled with nutrients, that is automated. We use highly automated systems, so we make sure that there's no margin for error. So we make sure that the system runs continuously with the right nutrients. So this is basically what hydroponic means. There's two types of hydroponic systems that we work with. One of them is table-based, which is basically for your greens, for your strawberries, for your lettuce, basil, a lot of different types of table vegetables. And then we have a vine, which is called the Hallelujah system. This is the system that's been patented with the Geneva Patent Office. The Hallelujah system is very interesting because it's a vine crop leaf. So it's a vine crop system that grows on vines that can grow cucumbers, peppers, tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. So really beautiful vegetables.
Thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Viewers out there, I will put on the link for you. Please
That'll
go
be great.
vote.
Thank you.
And,
Yes.
Let's get Namibia to Dubai.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Welcome back to Africa. Good morning, and thank you very much for choosing to rise with the stars this morning. Right now, we are going to take a trip to Zimbabwe to talk to Talent Gore, who has the news on the ground. Good morning, Talent. How are you?
Good morning, Aina. How are you doing this morning?
I am fantastic. Now, I understand the government has said that churches may reopen for fully vaccinated members. Please get into that.
Zimbabwe has been on level 4 lockdown since June, and most of the public restaurants, schools, bars, nightclubs have remained closed. But however, they've given the green light to churches to reopen to those who have been fully vaccinated. The Minister of Information, Monica Mchangwa, said that churches can now hold church services, but only for those who have been fully vaccinated. And if a person who hasn't received the second jab and only has been vaccinated with one dose of the vaccine is found at the church, that person will be turned away, or rather they will be arrested. They also said that church leaders must make sure that their congregates are fully vaccinated. The government also said that the church services will be closely monitored by the police to make sure that everything is in order and that the congregates and the people at the churches, they are adhering to the COVID-19 protocols. They said that anyone who is found without a COVID-19 vaccination card at the churches would be arrested, and the church leaders will also be arrested for allowing people who are not vaccinated to attend church services. However, church leaders have said that it is going to be very difficult for them because they can't turn away people who are not vaccinated. They can't turn them away from churches. So it is going to be very difficult for them to adhere to the provisions of the government.
Now, Talent, if I'm not mistaken, the list goes civil servants and congregations so far. Who else has to be vaccinated in order to, to meet up or to join or at least be active in Zimbabwean society?
Okay, so the government has said some companies they are now requiring people to be vaccinated for them to at least attend work. So as of now, private companies they are requiring their employees to be vaccinated. If they are not vaccinated, they are being sent away until they are vaccinated. And some of these private companies they are requiring that if their employees are not vaccinated, they are going on forced leaves. They are not going to be paid until they are fully vaccinated. So it is now the government and some private companies and also churches that are requiring people to attend church service who are fully vaccinated.
All right, now in your next story, Talent, police in Manicaland province have reportedly arrested several members of the Johane Marange Apostolic sect in connection with a teenage mother who died while giving birth at the sect's shrine in Bocha. Could you please tell us about this?
The police have confirmed that they have arrested several Joan Marange Apostolic sect members who were in connection with the death of a 14-year-old girl who died whilst giving birth in Bocha in July. The 14-year-old girl was denied medical attention by the church members who kept her at the shrine rather than allow her to go have a medical attention at hospitals and clinics. The Joan Marange Apostolic sect, they practice early child marriages, and they have been doing this for so many years. So the Minister of Women Affairs said that she was reliably informed that the culprits have been arrested and that the law was taking course. She said that the case of the Marange teenager reminded us that child marriages were still rife in our communities and that the government was working with the relevant stakeholders to make sure that those who had a hand in the death of the 14-year-old girl are dealt with and they are brought to justice. They also said that they are working with relevant authorities to make sure that they they um, they do away with early child marriages in the Marange Apostolic faith, because this is where early child marriages is actually rife in Zimbabwe. There are so many cases whereby you hear that a 9-year-old girl has been married off to a 40-year-old girl, to a 40-year-old man in that church. So the government said that they were working with relevant stakeholders to make sure that they work together to end early child marriages in the Marange, Joan Marange Apostolic Church.
All right, now President Mnangagwa has invited 16 countries to participate in the construction of the Museum of African Liberation. Please tell us more.
President Emerson Mnangagwa has invited 16 countries to participate in the construction of the Museum of African Liberation. He submitted artifacts and help in resource mobilization. He said that the museum is a continental project meant to document, preserve, protect, and promote the continent's liberation legacy. He wrote to 16 of his colleagues in 3 groups of countries. The first group is African countries that waged armed struggle to gain independence, and these include Angola, Mozambique, South Africa, and Guinea-Bissau. The second group is African countries that did not necessarily but were critical in political and diplomatically, such as Tanzania, Zambia, and Ghana. And the third group are non-African countries that supported the liberation struggle, which are China, Russia, and Cuba. So they said that this museum is meant to preserve the liberation gains within Africa. So it is not just a project for Zimbabwe, but for Africa as a whole. So it called upon other African countries to help in to make sure that this museum come to life and we preserve the African legacy.
Thank you very much, Talent, for bringing us the news from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
It's always good to have you here, Talent. This is still Africa Good Morning, and we're all hoping to have a good day ahead. And one important aspect that might allow us to be sure of that is checking out the weather forecast up next.
There's no one head size. Hats come in small, medium, and large. Eyeglasses are fitted. Just like with a hat or glasses, your mask should also fit your face, because any gap allows the virus to escape. No matter how good your mask is at filtering the virus, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. There are plenty of ways to get a good fit. Look for masks that come in different sizes and find the one that fits your face. Adjust the straps around your ears or head for a snug fit. Look for a mask with a flexible nose piece. Here's what to check. No gaps at the sides, no gaps at the nose, and no gaps around the chin. Now, breathe normally. Is it comfortable? If not, find another one. If it is comfortable, make sure when you blow hard, the air stays in your mask. Stay safe, close the gaps. And don't forget, it's not just about masks. Get vaccinated when it's your turn. Keep your distance, clean your hands, cover your cough with a bent elbow or tissue, and open a window.
Now, when you talk about young Namibian trailblazers, there's a name you absolutely cannot leave out, and that is Louise Munana, who became an international model in order to pay for his studies. But what has he done since then? He's represented Namibia at Big Brother. He's been named as part of Forbes 30 Under 30. And lately in Namibia, he founded the MTC Windhoek Fashion Week and the Waka Waka Mu children's television show. This show is now being shown in Europe, America, Canada, and the Caribbean islands. Interesting fact, I do one of the voices on the show, you know, so I've got a personal interest in this. And I have to say, Louise's story is incredible. Let's hear more about Louise and Waka Waka Mu.
Hi, my name is Louise Munana. I am a creative director for Waka Waka Mu, Zuriel. I am one of the co-founders for the MTC Windhoek Fashion Week. So I produce TV shows. I'm in the fashion industry. I have my own label. I have a kids TV show. I have a preschool, And yeah, I'm just your media personality.
Where do you come from? Where did this all start?
I was born and raised in Rundu, right here on the Namibian map. So I was born and raised in Rundu, and I always thought that there was more to the world, because being confined in a small town makes you feel like, okay, there's Windhoek to look forward to, but then I always knew that there was more outside of Windhoek. There's a bigger world. So I was an overachiever. I was a straight A student. I was top of my class, top of grade 1 to 12, or whatever the case may be. So that thing of excelling was always in me. So when I finished school, I moved to Cape Town to go study, to pursue my career in accounting. And while I was studying accounting, I was struggling a little bit to pay for school. So then I started modeling. So that's how I got introduced into the media scene. I was modeling, and I was modeling across Africa, um, all over the world, outside of Africa. So that's when I fell in love with media. So I stopped, I finished studying, and then I stopped doing accounting. So I was like, this is not what I want to do, but I finished studying nonetheless, because my parents were like, you have to finish your school. And then I went into the media space. I did not study it. I just knew that I have a passion for it. So that's how I ended up being in the media space. And yeah, after that, project after project, I fell in love with working with kids. After my participation in Big Brother Africa, I was representing Namibia. Our first task was to come up with a kids play, like a pantomime. So we came up with a play, and I wrote the script, I directed the play, I wrote all the characters, and I called it Waka Waka Mu. No, I called it Waka Waka. It was just called Waka Waka. And after winning the task, I told myself, one day I am going to create a TV show for kids called Waka Waka. And then a few years later, I created Waka Waka Moo for the drama. So then after that, moving back to Namibia, the fashion industry was very raw, it was very dry, there wasn't much happening. And with my experience of traveling across the world, I sort of got exposed to fashion weeks. So every time I would leave to go and take part in a fashion week, people would ask me, what is a fashion week? So I was like, no, this is how it works, this is what it is, and all of that. So then I decided to partner up with like-minded individuals and form the annual MTC Windhoek Fashion Week. So that's how Fashion Week came to be. And this is the 6th year. It's quite a big event. People come from outside the country to take part in the MTC Windhoek Fashion Week. We have designers from Namibia from outside. We now have the Den, which is the Designers Emporium Namibia, which is a shop that houses local Namibian designs at Marua Mall. And then I was meant to start my clothing line in 2016 already, but because MTC Windhoek Fashion Week was in existence, I couldn't do that. I had to focus on grooming and growing other local designers and growing the fashion scene. But last year, 2020, I decided to finally come up with my own clothing line, which I've been planning for the past 5 years. And it came to be Zuriel, powered by Standard Bank. Standard Bank assisted me in growing it, in making sure it's out there. And here we are, from showcasing last year in December to being invited to showcase at Milan Fashion Week in Europe in September. And just a couple of days ago, Zuriel dressed one of the Miss Namibia contestants, which was quite big for us. Our clothing line is doing well. We have orders from outside of Namibia. We've already sent stuff out. We are fully booked for the year. We have private clients, we have weddings, so there's quite a lot happening, preparing for fashion weeks outside of Namibia, in Nigeria, in Milan, in South Africa, and the MTC Windhoek Fashion Week taking place in November. So it's a lot. Then there's Waka Waka Mu. We just finished 26 episodes, kids TV show, the first ever in the country to have cartoons in English as well as local languages. I mean, imagine a child sitting at home watching cartoons in Oshivambo, Oshiherero, Rukwangali, German, Afrikaans, Kwekwe Chovab in Setswana. So that is very powerful. That's why we decided that Waka Waka Mu is something that is a force to be reckoned with. And Waka Waka Mu has also aired in Europe as well as Canada and the Caribbean islands. in the USA as well. So it's quite big, you know. Yeah, and then Forbes, I was listed in the Forbes 30 under 30 2 years ago. 2019 was 2 years ago, right? Yes, that's correct. So I was listed amongst many African creators. I was number 19. I was number 19. It was quite an accomplishment and a very big achievement for me because there are so many other creatives like there are so many other creative Africans and they chose me. So it was quite a big deal for me being listed because I've always wanted to be part of the Forbes list. But for me, I'm just getting started. You know, there's so much more I want to do. I want to take over the world. I want to I want to be there. You know, and most of all, I want to put my country, Namibia, on top of the world map because we have other African players on the world map, but we don't really have a Namibian that's really doing it. Like, oh my gosh, this person is from Namibia. So I want to be that guy. I know I'm going to be that guy. And I have an amazing team behind me from Waka Wakamu, from Zuriel, from MT7 Fashion Week, from Standard Bank, yeah, everybody's just rooting and pushing to ensure that we actually are out there representing Namibia to the world.
You know, there's people in life who you look at and you're just excited about the next thing they're going to do. And two of them, we've had them on the show, Zulu Boy and certainly Louise Munana.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see what you gentlemen have for us. But what we have for you up next is your economic news stories. And in our first story, IEA sees COVID blow to oil demand in 2021, surplus in 2022. The outlook for global oil markets darkened on Thursday after the International Energy Agency said that slowing demand for crude in the wake of restrictions imposed to curb the fast-spreading Delta variant is colliding with the recent increase in global crude production. The IEA's latest oil market report said that global oil demand abruptly reversed course in July, and the outlook for the remainder of 2021 has been downgraded due to the worsening progression of the coronavirus pandemic and revisions to historical data. Restrictions to curb the spread of the coronavirus's Delta variant in China, the world's largest importer of oil, as well as other parts of Asia, are chipping away what had been a renewed appetite for crude this year.
In our next story, continent's largest telecom firm loses subscribers and earnings decline. Africa's largest wireless carrier, MTN Group, announced its interim result for the first half of 2021 and posted a decline in earnings per share and subscribers despite the telco claiming solid performance in terms of revenue growth. MTN announced a 10% decline in reported headline earnings per share, the main profit measure in South Africa, in the 6 months ended June, falling to 387 cents per share, down from 430 cents in the same period in 2020. The company's executives said the decline in HEPS was due to many non-operational and one-off items, which referred to the impairment losses suffered by Yemen operation and the company existing in Syria by abandonment.
Now, in our next story, we are in Zambia as mining operations return to normal after recent power outage. Mining operations have returned to normal after being adversely affected by the recent countrywide power outage, the Zambia Chamber of Mines has indicated. ZCM President Godwin Bene said the power outage had impacted the day's mining operations in the midst of the prevailing copper bull market. He said employees across the chamber membership completed shifts without incident of injury during the power outage, despite open pit production in the northwestern province being adversely affected. Chamber member operations have since returned to normal. Emergency backup supply was extended to all their client mine operators on the CEC network to preserve life, production, assets, and infrastructure in the national interest, he said.
Liquefied petroleum gas imports saw in an energy shift. Importers of liquefied petroleum gas should be sitting pretty after the market maintained double-digit growth for 3 consecutive years, thanks to Tanzanians increasingly shifting to cleaner domestic energy option. Import by LPG marketing companies grew by 12.9%, up from 107 tons in 2016-2017 to 120 tons in the 2017-2018 financial year. Imports also grew by 20% in the following year, reaching over 145 tons, then recorded a massive 30% growth, reaching 190 tons in the 2019-2020 financial year, data from the Energy and Water Utilities Regulators Authorities show.
Now, the last of our economic news stories comes from Namibia as Mines Ministry embroiled in license renewal debacle. Minister of Mines and Energy Tom Alwendo is at the center of another license debacle after being taken to court recently. David Shikwambi is accusing the minister of attempting to rob him of 2 exclusive prospecting licenses whose renewal was denied. Shikwambi, a local businessman who owns Gazania Investments 123, says the refusal letter he received from the ministry denying renewal is misdirected and that the minister is busy with tricks. He says Gazania Investments has not benefited from the 2 EPLs as the licenses were only effective from 16 December 2020. He said he spent close to $3 million Namibian to develop his EPLs and feels the minister wants to take them away from him. The refusal letter from the ministry's office, dated 9 June, and which was seen by the Namibian, states that Shikwambi's application for renewal was denied. According to the letter, Shikwambi has not conducted any exploration work, and he has had the licenses renewed on 3 occasions since 2010. All right, that brings us to the end of our economic news stories. You know what comes up next: economic indicators. Welcome back to Africa. Good morning. It's time for us to get into your sports news stories for the day. And we start off in the world of athletics, talking about Namibia's Golden Girls, Mboma Masilingi, hoping to lead Project Nairobi. Namibia is hoping that Tokyo Olympic Games heroines Christine Mboma and Beatrice Masilingi can inspire their compatriots to success at the World Athletics Under-20 Championships in Nairobi, Kenya. The youth competition starts today and concludes on Sunday. After her barnstorming run to claim silver in Japan, Mboma is the overwhelming favorite for the 200-meter event. Masilingi, who finished 6th in that historic Olympic final, is also expected to medal in the event, as well as battling for honors in the 100 meters. The dynamic duo will team up for the 4x100 relay team, which also consists of Ndawana Haitembu, Karian Oosthuizen, and Nandi Vas. Flag bearer Elvis Hasep is the only male representative and will contest the 100 meters. The athletes will be led by the revered Henk Botha.
In our next story, Djokovic clocks 334 weeks at #1 in ATP rankings. Novak Djokovic, who has won all 3 majors this year and has his eyes firmly set on completing the sweep with another success at the US Open, remains comfortably at #1 in the ATP rankings released on Monday. The Serbs has now spent a record 334 weeks in top spot, well ahead of the next best, Roger Federer, who managed 310 and is now down at #9 and faces several months out of the action while he undergoes a further knee surgery. Federer said on Sunday he will be out of many months, a decision which cast further doubt on his future in tennis at the age of 40.
Now in MotoGP, Binder wins in Austria after tire gamble pays off. South African Brad Binder delivered a sensational home Austrian MotoGP win for his KTM team on Sunday after a late crazy gamble to stick to slick tires on a wet and slippery track paid off. As the rain came down and the top 5 peeled into the pits at Spielberg's Red Bull Ring to switch to bikes shod with wet tires, 6th placed Binder stayed out and hung on in the downpour for 3 wild laps. Sometimes life favors the brave, and today it worked, said the 26-year-old. Ducati's Italian factory rider Francesco Bagnaia came 2nd. Spanish rookie pole sitter George Martin, winner on the Pramac Ducati at the same track a weekend earlier, finished 3rd in front of 86,000 spectators.
AFCON 2022 beacon of hope for Cameroon economy. The African Cup of Nations in January and February is a beacon of hope for a Cameroonian economy battered by coronavirus pandemic and 2 conflicts, businessmen and traders says. A sign of depressing time is that only a few merchants populate the once crowded aisles of the handicraft market in the coastal city Douala, the economic hub of the Central African country. We first had the Boko Haram crisis in the far north, then the separatist conflict in English-speaking zone. COVID-19 has finished us, says Mohamedou Ishola, the president of Douala Craft Market. We had a very complicated month. No more visitors came. We are experiencing something unheard of, he continues. The Cup of Nations can change a lot of things with the influx of tourists and spectators.
Now in the last of our stories, Tonga coach and ex-Wallabies star Totai Kefu badly hurt in stabbing. Tonga coach and former Wallabies star Totai Kefu was seriously injured on Monday after being stabbed by intruders in his Brisbane home as the rugby world rallied around him. The 47-year-old was among 4 people rushed to hospital after the early hours incident when several men broke into the family house and a brawl erupted. Police would not reveal their identity, but multiple Australian reports said Kefu was stabbed in the stomach. The 4 injured residents were transported to the Princess Alexandra Hospital in Brisbane for treatment, police said in a statement. A man in his 40s has serious injuries. 2 men have been arrested. You got this great man. All our love and thoughts to you and the entire Kefu family, the Wallabies said on their official Twitter account. We certainly wish him and his family a speedy recovery. This is still Africa. Good morning. We've been streaming live from 7 a.m. After the break, we'll be back with your headlines. As we said before, Africa Good Morning has been streaming live from 7 a.m., bringing you the news and current affairs from the SADC region and beyond. Now, if the early bird didn't wake up early enough to catch the fattest worm, worry not, because the late bird can check out our headlines up next. Zambia opposition leader Hichilema wins landslide in presidential election. SA's jailed ex-president Zuma undergoes surgery. Nigeria says killing of Muslim travelers was pre-arranged. African Union Peace Force in Somalia probes reports of civilian deaths. IEA sees COVID blow to oil demand in 2020, surplus in 2022. And in sport, Mboma Masilingi lead project Nairobi. Those have been our stories.
Thank you very much for joining us on this edition of Africa Good Morning. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time, same place. Do not forget that we do welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can email them to us. Our email is agm_2centsworth@nmh.com.na. And on that note, please make sure you get vaccinated, wear your mask at all times, and avoid unnecessary public gatherings.
Absolutely. And yesterday I was on an interesting site which you should check out too. It's called oneup2.com. If you missed our live show, there's a little section called The Echo where you can get your news once again. This is Africa Good Morning. Until tomorrow, Swera Jakanaka.